Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Bluebeam on the Go. This webinar is brought to you by Applied Software, and I'm your host, Alyssa Chartier, and I am pleased to be your moderator today. We encourage you to take advantage of our fully customizable webinar console by clicking on the icons at the bottom of your screen. You can resize any of these widgets during the presentation. Be sure to visit our website, ASTI.com, to see how to achieve your design and business objectives through our innovative solutions, training opportunities, and services. And make sure to visit ASTI.com/webinars to check out more free training at your fingertips. Now, before we get started today, I just wanted to throw out a poll question for you guys. I want to gauge where you are. And Christopher is going to help me out with this poll question. Christopher, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. And the poll question is, how many hours per day do you have Revu open? And there's an answer for those of you who do not use Revu yet. And if you're using up to 4 hours, kudos to you guys.
I'm not even sure I use up to 4. I may have it open. I may have it open up to 4. I think we should put a disclaimer on this question. How many of you have it open and you're actively working?
Yeah, well, if you have it open in the background all day, make sure to chat us below. And if you have it over 4 hours, we'd like to hear from you as well. I want to see what you guys are up to.
See how many power users we have.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
My goodness.
There's a bunch of people within the background scrolling in and out to make it look like you're working. I got it. That's a good trick.
Yeah, we see you guys. And I'm going to turn it over to Christopher. He's going to tell us a few things about himself, and then we're going to jump into another poll question. Christopher, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. So my name's Christopher Riddell. Some of you may have already attended a webinar I've presented on, but my background is in architecture. I also have some education in construction, and I heavily used Bluebeam in my past life. And then when I transitioned over to this new role, I took it on full steam and have been really pushing for different workflows and how we can develop it and use it. And so that's why I'm here, and I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit today.
And before we get started, we do have one more poll question for you. Have you heard of the AEC Disruptors Podcast? Tell us a little bit about it, Christopher.
Yep. So this is my proud moment of Applied Software. So we have a AEC Disruptors Podcast. I was able to convince Applied Software to push this. Alyssa's been a huge contributor, but it really is an opportunity to get information out to everyone, help push the industry forward. And in my past life, I didn't have the time to be able to actually do research or stay current with the ever-changing industry. And this was a perfect medium to do that. So I actually recorded an episode today. We're trying to get contestants. We're trying to get people to come on and chat. Tell about all the great things that they're doing and really push forward the industry that we kind of all work in. So if you haven't heard of us, you need to check us out or wherever you can find podcasts. And you can follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter and everywhere. Just come find us.
Yeah, especially if you like Christopher's point of view. He's really fun to listen to. I would encourage it. Some of you have, some of you haven't. Make sure to check that out. I've put the link in the resources widget below. And without further ado, let's get started.
I'm more shocked that somebody actually has heard it. That excites me.
It is exciting.
Great. So as we get started today, one of the things we want to talk about really is collaboration. All right. And the title of this webinar was going to be Bluebeam on the Go, right? So how can I actually use Bluebeam on the go when I'm out collaborating? I'm in the field. I'm trying to do something where I need to be able to access that very quickly. So the first thing I did was, okay, well, what is Bluebeam saying about their product? What do we see? Give me 1 second here for technical difficulties while I get the slide to work. Alyssa, can you see the slide?
I can see the slide. I just can't see the the screen share.
Okay, we're good then. We're still on the slide. As long as everyone can
Okay.
see the slide, we're good to go. Cool. See, it's early in the day. I'm already messing this up. All right, so what did Bluebeam have to say about collaboration? I was actually curious. So these are some of the buzzwords that they're using, but it actually really holds water when we look into some of the stuff that they're doing. So they say you can collaborate in real time. The key word is from anywhere with anyone. And so that seems like a lofty goal, but as we look through the rest of today, we're going to see that it really isn't such a lofty goal, and it's actually something that's in practice. And again, one of the other things I kept seeing was experience greater collaboration and efficiency. So the things I always talk about when I look at anything to do with Bluebeam is some of the key things are to standardize the way we work and really optimize how we work and make ourselves more efficient. So as we look, what are some of the aspects that we have the ability to use on the go? What are some of the collaboration things that we can do? There's several key pieces that we're going to talk about today. The first is going to be Studio. With Studio, we have projects and sessions, and we're going to launch into in a few minutes and look at the Bluebeam, the actual desktop application to explain Studio and projects. But later on, we'll see how we actually have access in the field to that via the iPad. Studio Prime is another thing that we're going to touch on just a little bit, which really gives us the ability to sort of manage on a larger scale our users, being able to sort of see who's who's working on a project, who's working on a session. And then one of the really great things that have recently been introduced is what's going to be called Bluebeam Drawings. Bluebeam Drawings, they claim or they take pride in the fact that we can use any device, anywhere, and access our drawings. Okay, so those are going to be the three things we focus on today and as we talk about collaboration and specifically mobility. So we're going to start with Bluebeam Studio. For many of you, you probably have already heard this if you're using Bluebeam. If you're not, I want to start here to sort of set the foundation for ultimately what will help us understand the on-the-go aspect. With Bluebeam Studio, what we have the ability to do is really work with any of our team members, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what time zone they're in, we can all work together collaboratively in the cloud. We'll go through the steps of actually what a Bluebeam Studio project looks like. We'll look at what a session looks like. But then at the end of all this, we'll see that same functionality exists via an iPad. So I'm able to go to the field and I can view drawings, I can do markups, and I can communicate with any of my team members, whether it be the architect or the contractor or the engineer or the owner. I have the ability to collaborate with all of those individuals from wherever I am. So mobility is going to be a huge key into how we can utilize Bluebeam Studio. So I said Studio is made up of several things. The first thing is going to be Studio Projects. Studio Projects is essentially a document management system in the cloud. We'll be able to upload PDFs and really any other file types, and we can invite various team members no matter where they are, and we operate in a check-in, check-out type of workflow. In a few minutes, we'll launch into that, and we'll see exactly what that looks like inside of Bluebeam. But the project sets sort of the foundation for how we're able to access this documentation from anywhere we are, because now we have access to a project in the cloud. Studio Sessions is the other part of this. So we have projects, and then we have sessions. With Studio Sessions, as they'll tell you, Bluebeam says, that takes online collaboration to a new level. It really does. The project is a check-in, check-out type of workflow, but sessions is the equivalent of, I always like to say, we all sat around a table in the conference room, threw down a set of drawings, and everyone had a colored highlighter, and we just went at it. We marked everything up. We were able to chat back and forth, collaborate in real time, and we're not dependent on somebody else having to check out, check in a drawing. So Studio Sessions is sort of builds on top of projects and gives us that functionality to be able to really communicate and collaborate internally or externally with our team members As we see, there's going to be chat features. We'll be able to communicate with our team. We'll also be able to keep a record of everything that we did. So what's big on, or why that's important, is going to be from the accountability aspect of all of this. So when we start looking at what a session really is, the ability to hold each other accountable, make sure that we're attending the meetings that we said we're going to attend, having expiration dates on these so that I can make sure that my comments were done by the time I said they would be done. All right, and then the last part of Bluebeam Studio is going to be Studio Prime. Studio Prime is a little different in that it's a web-based platform that gives us more admin functionality. Okay, so we could do things like user management. We'll look at it in a few minutes, and we could see all the different projects, all the different sessions that our team has. We can see activity on all of those. We can transfer ownership back and forth, which is really important because if I make a studio project, I'm the owner of that. And then if for whatever reason I'm no longer available or around to work on that, via Prime, I have the ability to transfer ownership to somebody else so that somebody else will be able to access that information and they can, push the ball up the field. We also have other things like Studio Insights, folder automation, which actually is something I haven't even tapped into enough yet, but it has some great possibility in terms of things. A perfect example is converts files to PDF exports. So you could put a Word document and via folder automation, you can actually convert that to a PDF. And then that last one is where we can start to tap into integrations. So we're going to look at all this, but with Bluebeam Studio, we have access to the API, we have access to integrations. And so with those integrations, what we'll be able to do now is we'll be able to integrate to things like Procore or BIM 360 or whatever that may be. But what it does is it gives us additional functionality so that we can start to really get the most out of what we have in terms of our Bluebeam offering. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip over here to Bluebeam. And I sort of set the stage for what is going to be our, what we're going to talk about. We're going to start first with Bluebeam Studio. And, some of you may be saying, what the heck? I thought this was an on-the-go webinar, and it is. Understanding the Bluebeam Studio aspect of this is really what is going to give us the ability to be on the go. So we wouldn't be able to talk about that without talking about this first. So with a Bluebeam project, for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to look at a studio project, we're able to access it over here to the left. On my panel, I have this Bluebeam Studio tab. All right, I can sign in with my Bluebeam credentials, and once I do, I then have access to all of the different projects that I've been a part of. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of walk through this, see what this project actually involves, see what the session entails, and then we'll look at how that's going to translate later on in terms of our on-the-go aspects. So with a Bluebeam project, again, I mentioned that we have the ability to have real in-time collaboration, but we also have the ability to have that document management aspect of it. So we can actually come in here. We're looking at this one that I already have, Bluebeam Demo. We can start off first by inviting individuals to our project. So I can send an invite via an email to all of the individuals that I would like to be part of this project. They'll get a message so that they have access to it. They'll be able to access the drawings that we have. They'll be able to download the drawings. They'll be able to work in the drawings. From there, I can go through and I can create a folder structure. So depending on what this project is, this one, for instance, we have plans, specs. Clearly, I was messing around and made a test folder, and then just a regular PDF document. I can create additional folders here simply by going to Add New Folder, and then I can build this out depending on what I want to see with all of the drawings that we're going to use for this project. So if I go into Plans here, you see these are all the different plans or sheets that we've loaded into this session or this project. I can add additional files simply by clicking the Add over here. and going over to upload files. I could also drag and drop files into this project. But what I would do is when I start off, I would go through and I would get my drawings that I need for my project. I would load them into my project, studio project. I would make a folder structure that makes some sense. And then I would invite my team members. Okay. With each project, we can create various permission settings and various things to do around that project. So as I mentioned here, this is where I could add additional users if I want. So here's one of my colleagues. Alan was a part of this project. He had been sent an email via Bluebeam's project, and then he's able to access it. So when he launches Bluebeam, this is what he would see as well. I can control permissions. So in here, I could create different groups. So I could have user groups, perhaps based on discipline or just simply admin versus user. But from there, I can give everyone the necessary permissions that they need. So clearly, I have control issues. So everything's denied. So I wanted Alan to have no permissions, which is not the best team member. Sorry, Alan, if you're out there. But we can control that. And then under folder permissions, I could do the same thing. So I'm not restricted on the functionality here in terms of being able to assign permissions. If I only want certain groups to have access to certain things, I'll have the ability to do all of that. Okay. So now, what is this actually? We put our drawings in here. What are we going to do with it now that it's here? Well, what I'm able to do, and again, right now we're only looking at the desktop application, but all the functionality that we're using right now, we're going to see in a little while, is the same functionality in the field. So when I have an iPad and I'm using my app, everything you see me do here, we're going to be able to do there. Okay, so it works great in that aspect. So I can just double click on any of these sheets here to access or to open that file. All right. I can come in here and I can view it currently, but I don't have access to mark anything up. I'd actually have to check this out. So I can come up here to the lock in the upper left-hand corner and I can check it out. Once I've checked out a drawing, it's mine to make any notes to. So whether I'm, sitting at a Starbucks doing my work, or I'm here at home working, or I'm on a job site, I'm able to check that drawing out, go through and make up any of the markups that I want to make. So if I wanted to come in here and cloud something about these doors, perhaps I needed them to review the placement because it doesn't seem like they're too close. We're not going to be able to build that. Those are too close together. I need someone to look at that. But I can add all those comments wherever I'm at. And then once I'm complete, I simply just close and save. So I can come up and close and save. And then once I save, what's going to happen is I'm going to get prompted with a comment box. And this is important because we want to be able to keep that history of things that are going on. So I could simply just come in here and say, review the doors, whatever it is, but something so that I know later what that was. And then I can come in here and I can simply check it back in. Once it's checked in, it's going to process, and anyone else on my team at this point can come back and can work through what these drawings. All right. Now, let's see what actually happened there. If I right-click on this drawing, I have the ability to look at the revision history, and we're going to see why the comment was important here. Imagine that I had a whole list of revisions that occurred here. Here is we'd be able to see a log of all of that information. So we could see where I added the file, and then we could also see where I made a comment. Recently, I went in and I made some comments. If at any point, say I was reviewing for a specific value engineering exercise. So I was going to do a VE exercise. We're trying to get back in budget. I used Bluebeam and I went through and I marked everything up that I thought were things that we could potentially eliminate. And then imagine the most impossible thing happened and they raised the budget. Something that would never happen, but say they did. And we say, okay, well, all those comments are kind of irrelevant. I want to keep them in case we end up at this again. Why don't I simply just restore this revision. I'm just going to restore that back to the original. Now I'm back to where I originally was. Notice I don't have those clouds anymore where I said, hey, let's do something about these doors. They're too expensive. But I always have a log. So if at some other point we decide that actually we really did need to go that route, we have the ability to make that update. Okay. So in Bluebeam projects, this is Studio Projects, we have the ability to do that document management, access via the cloud. And then at the same time, it's a check-in, check-out type of workflow. Okay. The next part we're going to look at is sessions. So sessions, as I described, is the equivalent of us just throwing down a set of drawings in a conference room, unrolling a roll of trace, and then just marking it up as we go. But it's not a check-in, check-out type of workflow. I can't do that in projects, but I can do that in sessions. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to launch into sessions. I can get to it via the Bluebeam Studio tab, and I just click up here to go to the session. All right? So when I launch that session, we'll see where our last session was. So let me launch this. You can see to the left here, I have all these drawings that are a part of this session. I can see the attendees who are a part of this project. So for this, we had Alan was invited and myself. I can tell that he's currently not working in it. He's offline. I have the ability to change all the settings if I want to this project or this session. And so what I can do with a session is I can do several key things. One, I can invite attendees. So we've already kind of talked about that. I can invite various members to come to the session and join. I can assign permissions, same thing that we did before, but I have the ability to assign permissions. And then finally, which is a nice feature, is I can enable a expiration date. Okay, so with a session, say that we said, hey, we have to have all our comments in by the end of the week. We're doing a plan review. We got to have our comments in by the end of day Friday. And if you don't get them in, you don't get them in, and we're going to set an expiration date. So we can do all of that here inside the settings of a session. All right, now let's actually look and see what we can do. And again, remember, everything we're doing now, we're going to see in a few minutes in a video that we have the ability to do on an iPad. So we're going to get all of this functionality exists. I can go to any of the drawings that are a part of this session. Okay. Now, I'm embarrassed to say that my friend is a Georgia Bulldogs fan, so you could tell why he put this terrible markup. I'm a tech fan, so that just irks me to no end. But in this session, I'm able to go through and I can actually create markups, no different than what we've been able to do. I can go through and I can do different markups. You know, maybe I need to do something about, hey, I need you to change this room name. Maybe I want to illustrate somehow that we actually need a separate rooms here, for instance. We need to break this space up. But I can do all those markups. And the beauty is, if I have someone else in my project, in this case, Alan could be working, I'm not impeding his workflow. He's able to work simultaneously as me. And in fact, if he is in this project, you can actually right-click on his name up here, and you'd have the ability to follow him. So if you follow him, what would actually happen is I could see my screen move around wherever his cursor goes. Okay, we'd be able to discuss, maybe we're talking on the phone, and he says, hey, I really need you to take a look at this electrical room because I'm concerned we don't have the right clearances that we need. Follow me, and then I'll be able to show you. So I right-click on his name, I can follow him, and my screen just goes right to where he's looking. So I don't have to try to figure out, is he referring to this electrical room or perhaps another electrical room? Okay. At the same time, we could chat back and forth. I can send him messages and say, you know, review the doors at stair 251. We're keeping a log of all this information as we work through this. So for those of you that have worked in a session, you're very familiar with this. I can leave this session, I can come back as long as the expiration date hasn't exceeded itself. I'm able to go through and work through that. Okay. And then when the time comes, when we're ready to export this out, we actually have the ability to export this session as several different options. My favorite is going to be the PDF package report, and I'll show you why. But when I export that out, what it's going to do is it's actually going to create a PDF file that we could send to anyone. And when they open it up, you're going to get a report of a summary. So we'll be able to see all of the things that transpired in this session. And then if we go up to documents, we'll be able to see all of the drawings that were a part of this session as well. So you send one PDF and they have access to all of this. Okay. So that's a huge feature. That's a great thing that we can do in Bluebeam Studio sessions and Studio projects is a super useful tool. So let's look at Prime, and then let's look at how does that actually go mobile? How is this a mobile application? Well, first, let's talk about Prime a little bit. We can get to Prime by going to prime.bluebeam.com. You have to be an admin to be able to do this, but this is where we would go. And from here, I can see all my users. So I'm able to go through and look at all the different users that, come on, you're killing me, Bluebeam. I can go in and look at all the different users that have been a part of this. I can look at how many collaborators I have. These would not be members of my actual team, but people I've invited to this. All right. I can go back to home, and I can look at the projects. So I can see all the different projects that I have. From here, I'm able to look at things like how many attendees are in this this project. How many documents are a part of this project? I can click on, or I can look at the different drawings that are part of this, so I can navigate through and see the different folders. Clearly, there's a lot of drawings here. I can transfer ownership of this to someone else. I can launch right into Review and be able to see what's going on. And then I can also generate an insight. So if we generate an insight, what we're going to be able to do is we can actually start to look at activity. If I can get this to come up, but ultimately what we'll be able to do is look at an activity of all of our different sessions. All right. So we have our users. There you go. This is the insight. We'll be able to see, how many active projects do we have? How many active sessions do we have going on? All right, over an extended period of time. What are our recently created sessions? What are those that we have? What are some integrations that we can do? Okay, so we have various integrations that we'll be able to add, and we could go through and, whether it's BIM 360 or Procore or any of those things, we have the ability to add those integrations. Okay. So that's Bluebeam Studio projects, sessions, and also Prime, Studio Prime. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. What we're going to do is we want to look at the next aspect. So this is really where we start diving into the mobility aspect of what we have on the go. And that first thing that we're going to touch on is going to be Bluebeam Drawings. So if you haven't seen it already, Bluebeam Drawings it was a great release, a great thing for all of us to have. And what it is, or what we have the ability to do, is it gives us the freedom to take our drawings wherever we want for free on any device, anywhere. So, those are pretty lofty goals, but it's a real thing. We can take this wherever we want to go. And we're going to look at two different applications. We're going to look at the web browser first, just so we can see how that works. And then we're also going to look at the app and understand how the app works for Bluebeam Drawings. But it really helps with that seamless flow of information, because what we're able to do is now in the field, I can take my full set of drawings with me on my mobile device. So whether or not now I don't have to lug the full set with me, I can pull up my drawings and I can quickly look at it. And we'll be able to see the versioning control that we'll have access to. And it really gives us the ability to have great, quick access to our most current set of drawings. So it kind of takes out the guesswork over what is the right set, because I'm going to have it at my disposal on my device, whatever that device may be. the first thing I want to look at is we're going to look at the web application. Okay, so this is one way you would be able to access this if you wanted, and then we're going to look at the app itself. We're going to talk through a video of how the app works. But the functionality is going to be the same. What we're looking at here is going to be all the projects that I've been assigned to. So I've been added to several different versions here. We're going to look at this Bluebeam demo first. Notice, this will come into play in a few minutes, but notice right now I have 4 different projects. Drawings, Bluebeam, and then these other 2. Okay, so we'll just remember that. When I go into the Bluebeam drawings, what we're going to be able to do is we see all of the drawings that we've loaded into this. And what it actually has done is as we load drawings in, it will create a drawing log of sorts for us. Based on just typical standards, it will recognize things like the general sheets or the structural sheets or the architectural sheets. So it'll automatically start to break that down for us. So it's easier for us to navigate this set of drawings. Okay. I can go through and I can, depending on what I want to look at, I can only look at a certain attribute. Maybe I'm only looking at the architectural drawings here. I can choose to look at them as thumbnails, or I could choose to look at them as a list. Okay. So I have the ability to do that regardless of what device I'm on. If I'm simply looking at a web browser, I'm going to be able to access this. And so if we go in and let's select one of these sheets. So I'm going to choose, we'll choose this one first. So we have this level 02 floor plan, and I'm just going to select it. Now that I'm in it, I'm able to go through and I can see different drawing, aspects of this drawing. This will hyperlink itself. So I'll be able to actually go to that link and go back and forth where I can actually go to whatever aspect of that drawing it is. Now, when we look at the app, this functionality works really well to be able to bounce around between sheet to sheet to sheet. Okay, so I don't want to spoil the surprise by doing it there. Okay. What we also have the ability to do, and we'll see this in both applications, is with the ability to look at version history. If we plop multiple drawings up here and the version changes, or it's the same drawing, it just changes, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to look at those different versions by coming over here to version history, and then we could just toggle back and forth between what we want to look at. So this was the second version that we uploaded. It's been stamped superseded so that I know it's not current. Here's the original version. Now, clearly, I didn't stamp supersede on this one. This was just the original one we started with. But we can go back and forth and look at these different versions. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at how that web application functions on a mobile device. So we're going to flip over again. Hopefully no one's getting car sick, bouncing back and forth. But I'm going to flip over again to my slides, and fingers crossed my video works, because what we want to do is we actually want to talk about the Bluebeam app. And let me give it a second. There it goes. Okay, cool. So what we want to do is we're looking at how we'll be able to launch this app. So the app is just called Drawings, and we'll be able to get to that via our Play Store, whatever you have. From here, you'll see there's 2 different aspects. There's going to be on the device and then the cloud component. If we look at the cloud component, that's where we're going to see all those different versions that we just saw on our web browser. We actually would have to download these if we need. You see the icon there to the right. We could download them, and once we do that, they'll show up on our actual device. There are a few more things I want to look at first. If we go up to the edit at the top right-hand corner, what we'll be able to see is how we can actually close out the different drawings if we don't need them anymore. And then if we launch the settings, what we'll be able to do is we can change different settings. What the settings are going to be is based on updates. What do you want to download when you actually download this project? Do you want to download the most current, or do you want to download the whole version? We're going to launch this first Bluebeam demo, Bluebeam Drawings demo, and notice right under it said 1 update. When we go into it, we see that it allows us to, or it tells us that we have an updated drawing that we need to do something with. So we know what's been changed. When we get into it, it all looks the same. I can run, back and forth through this. I can go to the filters just like we just did. I have all of that functionality. So maybe I only want to look at architectural drawings again, because that's what my background is in, and that's what I'm most comfortable. I can only look for those. I can also search. If I want to quickly look for, say, level, and I want to be able to search for the drawing somewhere, I can do that. Now, I told you that we have the different versions, so we're going to look at that in a second. But I want to launch this, and let's look at how easy it is to navigate the drawing. One, I can pan around, but more importantly, all I need to do is click on any callout or any view, and it's going to take me to that sheet. So I could do the same thing here if I want to look at this detail sheet. Very easy to navigate, all on the go, okay? Now let's talk about the version part. Notice that in the corner it says V3 for that one floor plan. How is that actually going to look in the mobile application? Well, let's open that up, and if we notice in the upper right-hand corner, we have that same symbol. We can switch back and forth between the revisions. So then we'll be able to see what was current, what is the old one versus the new one, and then really be able to get a good indication of the full set of drawings. So I don't have just the originals. I have everything at my disposal, and I can always change that back and forth. I also have the ability, like we just saw, I can toggle back and forth between thumbnails versus the tile, just depending on my preferences, whatever is easier for me to read. Let me take the filter off, and then let's just look at some of these drawings. What I'm able to do is I can easily navigate. We looked at how we can bounce back and forth, but you could just swipe back and forth, left or right, depending on what sheets we want to look at. It's very easy to navigate, but I have the ability to look at all of these drawings in the field, sort of at my disposal. So it makes it really simple. Okay, it's a super useful tool to be able to access all those drawings, and all I have to do is have any device. So that was an Android. I'm an Android fan, and I was able to just use my phone and look at the drawings. So the navigating back and forth was one of my favorite aspects, I would say, to it. Okay. So if anything, you should get the Drawings app. Go to your Play Store, whatever iTunes or iPhones use, I don't even know, and download the Drawings app for Bluebeam. And a little sneak peek at some point, be on the lookout. I think it's called Atlas, Bluebeam Atlas. If you haven't heard about it, look it up. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but when you're talking about collaboration and mobility, that is a tool you want to start keeping an eye out on. So check it out at some point. It'll be useful. All right, so we're kind of starting to wrap up a little bit here. The main focus for this was on Bluebeam collaboration, but really Bluebeam on the go. What are the tools that I have at my disposal for on-the-go applications? So we spent time talking about the studio projects and the studio sessions so that we understand the functionality behind both of those. And we did that because what we're about to look at is going to be the Bluebeam iPad app. So I have my iPad, and I'm able to access all of the tools that we've kind of looked at already, all the tools you're used to doing. We're going to look at some screenshots here. But then what we're going to do is we're going to look at a video of a session. We're going to talk through how this would work. And the functionality, what you're going to see, is the same. Okay, so it's great. It's a great tool. It's as important to understand projects and sessions as it is on the go. So let's see, what do we got here? All right, so I looked it up. I was curious, what are all the things we can do with the iPad? Well, chances are there's not many things we can't do with the iPad. Okay, so you get almost all the functionality that we're used to at your fingertips. I mean, it's super simple to be able to what we can do. So all the measuring tools that you're used to, the scaling, the calibration, the check marks, everything that you have is at your disposal in the Bluebeam iPad app. This is one of my favorite examples of how you can use Bluebeam to do punches. All right, and we really just kind of talk through it because that wasn't necessarily the whole point of this, but a couple key tips for this to work. You see all those purple little spaces in the background. Well, I gave it away. Those are spaces in Bluebeam. If you use Revit, if you're a huge Revit proponent and you have the Bluebeam add-in, if you use Revit and you don't have the Bluebeam add-in, you need to get it. And if you do, when you export to print, you have the ability, if you look in your settings, about midway through, you're going to see the ability to check export rooms to spaces. And I would encourage everyone to do that whenever they export anything from Revit to Bluebeam. And the reason for that is when you export that space, when we see that purple square in the background, any markup that you put inside it gets categorized as part of that space. It gets created automatically for us. When I place the markup in it, it shows up in the markups list. Super useful. That's a little bonus tip, but I would encourage you to use it. But here, what are we looking at? We're looking at the iPad, right? So we have all these punch keys to the left, these symbols that we've made, symbols that are specific to something, whether it is the door needs to be adjusted, the hardware is not right, the handle is broken, the flooring is messed up. But I have my app or my iPad. I'm walking around the field. I simply just click the whatever icon I need, and I drop it in the space. Super simple application, very useful. I'm in the field. I'm just walking through using my tool chest, just dropping all my markups, quickly generating a punch list. All right. So if that's something you're ever interested in, you should reach out to us to talk about that a little bit more. Great functionality, a great use of it. And this is what we're about to look at. We're going to look at a video. Again, fingers crossed the video comes up the way I hope it does. We can talk through it. But what we're going to see is the functionality that we just talked about in terms of the studio projects and sessions is going to all be there. And notice we'll also have the functionality to do things like voice to text. That'll be for even our markups. I can do a voice to text for my markup simply using my iPad, using the app. I don't have to type very quickly what I need. I can just say what I want. All right. So we're going to try launching into this video, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Bluebeam iPad app. So what we're looking at right now actually is a session. Okay. So we're looking at all the functionality of that session, and we can toggle back and forth between projects and sessions, just like we did on the computer. We can create sessions from here. So we're looking at how we could create a session from that. Or create a project, I'm sorry. We can actually add drawings to it. So we'll go get our drawings. We're going to go through and add those to them so we can build out what is actually going to be a studio session. I can invite users. I can change the settings. Everything we talked about before, I can do here. I can set expirations. No functionality is lost on the iPad. And now I can launch right into what is now going to be my new session. Okay, so here we go. Let's go look and see what the session looks like. Now, once I get into it, we're all familiar with what we see here. We can see the drawings on the side. We're able to see the whoever's at the top. And one thing I want to mention, what we're looking at right now is there's something called Studio Go. It actually allows us to quickly generate this image so that I'm not waiting for it to regen. I'm not waiting on a lag. You could, if you want, you could turn Studio Go off. I can go to the settings, and up there you'll notice when we go to Studio, we have Studio Go. I would encourage you to leave it on. You want that to be as quick as possible, all right? Let's look at how we do markups. Markups are the exact same of what we've already talked about. I can put a cloud wherever I want to put a cloud. All of that information is going to translate down into the markups list. It's also going to translate down into the reports. Again, the functionality is going to be all the same, okay? I also don't need access to the internet. That's always a big question. Do I have to have access to the internet for this to work? Well, no, we don't. What we're going to be able to see here is I can actually turn myself or take myself offline, and I can walk the site. No internet, no access to anything. I can mark everything up that I need. So if I go through here and I highlight a bunch of stuff and say, hey, check this room name or check this room or whatever, those are going to get logged if we look under the pending section. Under the pending section, you see all these markups that I have that need to get pushed. Whenever I reconnect, all of that information is going to get pushed right back to my session. So there's no information lost. I'm not dependent on the ability to have internet connectivity. I'm also not dependent on the ability to have to hope that my speed is quick. Okay. A couple of things that I didn't mention about session, which is worth bringing up, is it's not dependent on you being a Bluebeam user. you can actually invite non-Bluebeam users. Say someone had a trial. Say I was working with Alan, my colleague I referenced earlier. We're working on a project together. He gets a trial of Bluebeam. All right, his trial, and we work together. His trial expires, we both move on, and then we come back 31 days later, one day after his trial expired. We do another project together. He can use his Bluebeam trial as view only. So he has that functionality already. But when I invite him to a session, when he comes into that session with me and we're working together, he gets all of the functionality that I had before, that he had before. So you're not dependent on them having full license of Bluebeam. Drawings anyone can have, anyone can take those with us. And then obviously the iPad app is available for anyone that wants to get it. So that wraps this up. This one was going to be short and sweet. Get to the point. I don't want to waste anyone's time. The whole thing's about on the go. So we're always on the go. What did we look at? We looked at 3 key things. We looked at Studio Project, which includes, Studio, which includes projects and sessions, and then Prime. Prime was the ability to sort of have that more admin look. Studio and sessions or project and sessions. We get document management, access to drawings in the field. And then the session is that live collaboration. The iPad app. The iPad app is what gives us all the functionality of sessions, of projects, of Bluebeam in the field. Okay? We saw how easy it was to create a session, to navigate, to tap on, whatever we're trying to look at. And then the Drawings app. The Drawings app gives us the ability, no matter what our device is, I'm able to download drawings, be invited to that project, and I can carry that around wherever I go. So I have a full set of drawings on my phone here. I can see version control. I'm able to navigate back and forth, and I can easily utilize those 2 functions to work wherever I want to work. All right? So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it back over to Alyssa, and she's going to kind of take us away.
All right. And before we go, we do have a few questions. Are you down to answer some?
Only if they're good questions. Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I think this is a good one. Is there additional cost for Studio Prime?
Studio Prime, the answer to that is yes. It's part of the Extreme version, Bluebeam Extreme. And then you also have to be an admin to be able to access that.
Gotcha. And next question, can you link from a network location or a cloud location to automatically upload PDFs at any intervals?
So the answer to that question, and I hate to do it, is something that we've developed internally. So there is no way to natively in Bluebeam to do that, to upload from a network to a Bluebeam project or session or anything like that automatically. So what I hate to do, because I don't want to plug anything, is we actually have a tool that does just that. So we have made a tool. It's called 360 Sync. And if you're ever interested, you could certainly reach out to us and we can talk about it. That will be able to push those updates on an interval from your network to your projects and back and forth. So I hate to plug it, but that's what it's for.
Yeah. And if you have more questions about that, we do actually have a 360 Sync webinar coming up this or next week, I believe. I'll go ahead and chat that out. Next question
Perfect.
is, does it tell you graphically with an icon if there are any new revisions without clicking on each file?
For a project, I'm guessing. That's a great question. And I don't know if I've ever paid attention to that. I would say, what would I say? I would say no. I would say no. There is no icon that would allow or let you know that something was updated. No. That would be great, though. Now, in drawings, there is. In drawings, you'd be able to see that there's a new version. In projects, the only way you would actually know was you'd have to look at the revision history and be able to see all the different things that came up. And I could be totally wrong. I don't think I am. But if I am, I'll reach out back to everyone. But no, I don't believe you can.
All right, next question. Can users other than the creator of the studio project remove an uploaded PDF? What about in a session?
If you give them permissions. So we looked at how we can set up permissions. You could choose the permissions to add, remove PDFs, add, remove documents. So if you were the creator of it, and then say you were more of you made it as an admin, and I wanted to invite other individuals, and I wanted to assign a key point person, I could do that simply via permissions.
All right. Oh, and I do have an update on the Studio Prime question. It is a subscription-based product, and it is not part of Extreme.
Okay. See, that's why we have people smarter than me.
Yeah, thank you for chatting that in.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Next question, how does the Drawings app differ from the Bluebeam Revu or Bluebeam View apps?
So the Drawings app really gives us the ability to view the drawings. You will not be able to make edits or markups or any of those type of things. But what the greatest functionality is the ability to access on any device. That was a huge component. It's a free app, so you don't have to have the license or anything. So it's free to have, and you can use it on anything. So that's the biggest bonus. If you're looking to actually do markups, then you're going to more use your iPad Bluebeam app that allows you the functionality to be able to update what you need.
All right, next question. How does the detail jump work for PDFs created in Civil 3D?
How does the what?
How does the detail jump work for PDFs created in Civil 3D? So maybe how is everything carried over?
Oh, okay. That I will have. Let's get whoever that is, because most of my functionality or most of my focus on the architecture side, I don't have enough to tell you from Civil 3D without it sounding like total crap. So I want to let's just jot whoever that was, and we will get back with you specifically so we can answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have someone reach out to you about that. Also, if you have any really detailed questions, you can always reach out to bluebeam@asti.com. We get back on that pretty quickly, and we're always available to help. So next question I have is, I'm looking into getting Prime so that I can use the integrations into BIM 360 docs. Do they have a trial version to see if this is what I want to use? Yes, we do. And if you click on the light bulb widget below, you can check out the link to that and we can get you started.
See, I didn't even know that one.
Do we have a webinar for integrating BIM 360 docs into Bluebeam? That is our last question. And not currently, but let me reach out to you and we can get that started. If anyone wants any future webinars on Bluebeam, you can always email us at events@asti.com and we can go ahead and get that started for you. And we will reach out to anyone's questions that we weren't quite able to answer, or if you asked us to reach out. But other than that, I think we are done. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Yeah, not a problem. And we'll get back to the civil question. I apologize, I don't know the answer to that, but we'll find out and we'll get with you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Christopher. We appreciate everyone spending your time with us, and we trust it was meaningful and impactful for you and your business. We look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.